It's Romania Black. Hi. I can't believe we're here. How are we on the season finale of season 2 of Attack on Titan? How? I feel like season 1 took a long time to get through. Even though I was doing 2 episodes a week, it took a long time to get through because there was so much happening and it just felt like there was a lot going on. And there's been a lot going on this season, but it's gone by so quickly. Like, it felt like I just started this season and we're already at the end of it. And we are not the same audience that we were at the start of this season. That's for sure. So I can't believe that we're on the season finale. I woke up this morning and I was like, I want to watch the season finale. I just, got my coffee. I want to watch it. I've got my internally screaming shirt because the title of this episode is called Scream. I only think of horror movies when I think of that, so fun times, happy Halloween. But it's also freezing cold here, so I was like, thank you, Dexter, this is very helpful, actually. And plus, it's the Survey Corps blanket. I want to celebrate the Survey Corps because, man, last episode, Survey Corps were having not a bad day. It's been worse. So, man, going into the season finale, I've had expectations of characters that were going to die. We've only had 6 deaths this season, which concerns me because this show killed off a lot of characters in the first season. We've only had 6 deaths, and the recent one we had was not even a present character. It was Marcel off screen in episode 10 from the past. So other than that, we've only really had 5 Survey Corps members die, which is sad, but it's compared to season 1 a lot less. So I'm really nervous. I'm really nervous for Hannes. He's had death flags since episode 8. Really nervous for him. Especially, we're not quite at the halfway point of the series because as I record this, we haven't had part 2 of season 4, so there's only been 76 episodes, so we're only at episode overall, 27 or 37, so we're not quite to that, 37, so we're not quite at the halfway point yet of the series, but I feel like Hannes is that connection to the past world, and with the Titan that killed Carla showing up, here's the thing about that, and I've been thinking about it since the last reaction. I was like, oh, well, the Titan that killed Carla, this will be easy. Mikasa will just pop up and kill her. No, one of you pointed out, and I can't recall who, I think it was Moth, you pointed out, that Mikasa had been injured from the last episode where that Titan gripped her. It probably hurt her ribs, and she seemed like she was wincing when we got that close-up of her right before the episode ended, so she might not be in good shape to fight the Titan. Eren does not have any ODM gear. It totally slipped my mind. Eren has no ODM gear. And maybe or maybe not his limbs have grown back. So he definitely can't fight as a cadet, as a Survey Corps member. And if his limbs aren't fully grown back, he can't fight as a Titan either. So that's not going to work. I hadn't even thought of that. And so my other option would be that Hannes would try to go in. And that would be Hannes. It would be fitting because Hannes, it would be like a callback to episode 1 where Hannes took Eren and Mikasa and ran away with them because he didn't have enough courage to face the Titan. Either one of 2 things I think is going to happen. Either Hannes is going to grab them, part 2, a second time, and run off with them. Or Hannes is going to stay and fight the Titan and be courageous. And it's either going to go one of 2 ways. He's either going to defeat the Titan or it's going to kill him. So Hannes just has death flags. Moblet, we haven't got back in on him. He's got death flags for me. Erwin definitely has death flags now. Even though Erwin was such a boss last episode, he only has 1 arm. That's a problem if you're trying to use ODM gear, right? I don't know how the hell he used ODM gear in the last episode, to be honest. I don't know how that worked with 1 arm, but it's Erwin, so why question? But he makes me nervous. I feel like that's a death flag too. So those 3 characters in particular have death flags. I don't know about the other ones. I think Bertolt's going to transform in this episode because he's pissed because of Armin. Also, someone pointed out, I think, Moth, this was you too, that Armin is the only one at this point of the 104th cadets that has not killed a Titan. So maybe Armin will kill the Titan. Maybe that'll be it. Maybe that'll be Armin's first kill is to kill the Titan that killed Carla. I don't know. But yeah, man, Armin last episode, becoming a leader, so many badass moments. It was like the longest I'd ever recorded. I'm bracing myself for this episode because it's the season finale. I'm sure there'll be lots of things. And then I'll probably this afternoon start recording the recap video because the more I think about it, the more I'm like, it's gonna be a long video. So I might start recording it this afternoon. So if y'all comment and I don't get to it in the recap, I'll comment to y'all in the comment section. Or if it's something really important, I'll bring it up with season 1, with episode 1 of season 3. So thank you all for not spoiling this for me. I've got a couple other notes, but I'm going to wait until after the episode to bring them up. Just a couple little ones. But yeah, thank you all so much for not spoiling me. I know it's hard, and especially with part 2 of season 4 coming out, like it's so easy to want to spoil, but y'all have made this viewing experience amazing so far. And I know we're about to get into the insane seasons where stuff really goes down apparently. I don't know what that's gonna be like because things have really gone down in this season. But thank you for not spoiling me, and please don't spoil me. Keep not spoiling me because I really appreciate it. But yeah, I'm not gonna talk for 10 minutes this time. I want to get through the episode. Episode 11 was amazing. It's probably my favorite of the series so far. Because it was just like a perfect culmination of everything, like badassery, epic action, intrigue, reveals, character development. It was everything. So I loved it. But yeah, Scream. I honestly have no clue how we're ending this season. It would make sense for them to retreat and get out of there with Eren and Historia and Ymir, but it's Attack on Titan, so we're not gonna make it that easy, right? And so I don't know what's gonna happen. But I guess we'll find out. So yeah, so let's start this, shall we? Sure. We're going to start Attack on Titan, episode 12 of season 2 here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. This episode, man, that was a stressful season finale, but I don't feel the same. It's so weird. I don't feel despair. There's like this whole thing with the coordinate. It just okay. It opens up so much. Can I say first of all, I have given Eren a very hard time this season, and some of you have commented on it, and I know I like giving Eren a hard time. I have fun with it because Eren is such an interesting main character, and I'm going to talk about it in the recap in more detail, my theories and all that about Eren, but I give Eren a hard time. I do. Because I know he can take it. No, I give Eren a hard time because, as some of you pointed out, I think Democ90, you pointed this out on YouTube. Eren's biggest flaw is that he gets really narrow-minded. When he gets focused on something, he devotes his entire self to it, which can be a good thing if you think about it. You're like, okay, Eren devotes himself to protecting people. That's great. He devotes himself to the people he's compassionate about. That's great. He devotes himself to a cause. Or it's been established since episode 1 that Eren, when he gets his mindset on something, he goes 120% on it and just lasers in on it and will not stop until the job is done. And his resolve is incredible. And I really like that about his character. And I like main characters that are flawed. It's just his flaw can be frustrating for an audience viewer because sometimes he gets so narrow-minded and so narrowed-focused that he doesn't listen to outside perspectives. That's his biggest flaw, in my opinion, is that when people try to give him advice or give him outside information or advice, he sometimes doesn't, not always, but he sometimes doesn't take it because he's so narrow-minded on an issue that he won't listen to any outside support. And I think that's what keeps Eren from being a leader, because if you're a leader, you have to listen to outside support. You have to listen to multiple perspectives outside of you. Otherwise, you're not going to get the full picture, right? So that's always been my hesitation with Eren. And I've given Eren a hard time this season because the show seems to also like poke fun at Eren as well. But I'll be honest, I felt really bad for Eren this episode. I felt genuinely horrible for Eren. And so when we get that moment of him utilizing the power of the coordinate, apparently, when you get that moment, it's such like a reversal. It's such a satisfying, like, Eren's got the shaft this whole series, and this is the first time that he really he won. Eren won the battle because he didn't even have to fight it. He won, which opens up a whole nother things. But I've given Eren a hard time, but this episode, I felt really bad for him about Hannes. R.I.P. Hannes. We knew it was going to happen. But that was brutal. It was really grim there for a while. Really grim in this episode. And then And then Eren came through. We're going to talk about that and the Beast Titan and everything. We're going to talk about that. But when we start out with the flashback with Carla and him needing to be there, and those lines have stuck with Eren, the idea that you need to be there for people and you need to, that's kind of like the basis of Eren's whole mentality of being someone that helps people and can save people, is his mom's words telling him he needs to step up, be a man, and be there for Mikasa. And by extension, Mikasa becomes everybody else. And then, of course, I really thought there'd be some significance to the Titan that killed Carla. But I kept thinking that maybe we'd find something that was, if there was any significance or whatever. But it doesn't seem, I don't know. It just seemed like they were a creepy looking Titan. That Titan looks really freaky. So it's interesting. But yeah, oh man, this episode, it was like the grimmest it could possibly get. And then Eren's power, that's his power. I was talking in the last episode because we got the title card saying that Titans have abilities. And Reiner's is obviously the armor. Bertolt's is the steam and everything. Annie's is the skin hardening. And I was like, what's Eren? It'd be cool if Eren had an ability. He does. And he doesn't even have to turn into a Titan to use it. That's the scary thing. That's the crazy thing. He doesn't have to turn into a Titan to use it. Right? He can use it without being a Titan. He can just order them around. Oh, that's a game changer, because if he doesn't have to become, because Eren's thing is when he becomes a Titan, we've seen in prior episodes, when he becomes a Titan, it tends that his power, the Titan starts to take over him, and it's like instinctual. He starts to like have these raw emotions, and it's like heightened. So when he was telling he's going to rip Annie apart, and then in the season finale when he's like, I'm going to destroy humanity and kill everything, it was like, oh God, no. But if he doesn't have to get to that point, if he can just use that ability without turning into a Titan, he just has to not be injured, that's very big. That's insanely important. Because yeah, as soon as he healed, which of course he heals himself, and you could argue that Mikasa had something to do with it too, like her pep talk, but he finally heals himself like a minute too late to save Hannes. But oh my gosh, the fact that he like did the fist and called all the Titans to destroy that one Titan that killed Carla and Hannes. Oh man. I'm glad Jean didn't die. I was worried about Erwin. I was worried about Jean. I was worried about Armin. I thought Armin was going to be safe this entire season, and that end where he's just like getting there with Jean and trying to... Erwin. I was worried, but Erwin, Erwin's such a boss. And him like fighting till the end, and him trying to convince the others not to save him. And I'm surprised Ymir, I hadn't even thought about this, but Ymir going for Erwin. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about this. Ymir going for Erwin, because she's like, this is all because of you. I would have had Astoria and we could have got out here if it wasn't for you. But as it turns out, it probably was a good thing that Erwin came in, because then Ymir got to see that Eren has the coordinate power and what it does. Because she didn't even know what it did, but Reiner and Bertolt seem to know. So we're going to talk about that. But yeah, Erwin, I really thought Erwin was going to die, and what a boss. Like, I can't help but respect him, because when he was like, I can be replaced, go, retreat, I can be, like, he was ready to sacrifice himself. He was going to do like an Ian move from season 1. He's like, I'm forget about me, I can be replaced, go, which, glad they saved him, but, oh man, so cruel. And of course Ymir's like, well, damn it, now I got to kill this Titan. And then Astoria's like, we gotta go help Ymir. But yeah, oh man. And the point where Erwin's like, I can always be replaced. He's like, just find Eren and retreat. And then he looks up and sees that the guy wasn't listening to him because he was being eaten. That's so harsh. And Erwin's face, he's like, oh, damn it. Like, this episode. But yeah, so the Titan that killed Carla and Mikasa trying to save him, and then Hannes coming in. God, this was hard to watch. It really was. And then my dogs were barking. And I was like, Funimation was getting slow and the dogs were barking. I'm like, why? Why now? Oh God. And then Hannes, man. Hannes tried to avenge her. And it just, surprisingly, the Titan is surprisingly agile with those tiny little T-Rex arms. But, you know, I never thought that Reiner throwing the Titans would be such a detriment and such a hindrance. But honestly, not only was he throwing them and their bodies being massive and causing an issue, but at the same time, once they get thrown, they're not dead, so they get back up and start attacking people. That's the problem. It's like, and there's just some of these Titans in this episode, just their faces looked really human, to the point where it was like, they didn't look like as distorted as they usually do. I like Ymir goes through the motions of, what do I do? Ymir's trying to think of the scenarios, right? Because Ymir at this point, she's like, okay, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. I can either go with Ymir, I can either go with Historia and the Survey Corps and take a gamble that I'm going to survive, or I can take Historia and go back with Reiner and Bertolt and leave them all behind. She's like, which option is the best option? Neither of them are necessarily good for Historia, but which one is the best one? And at the end, I got really sad because once she figured out what Eren's ability was, she was like, okay, Historia is best within the walls because there's a chance she'll be okay because of Eren's ability. She's like, there's a future for her, so I'm going to leave her. But Ymir's like, I can't stay behind because they'll probably experiment on me or kill me. So, and Historia said it herself. She's like, quit living for me, live for yourself. She's like, let's live for ourselves. And Ymir, that was her doing exactly that. She's like, I want to stay here for you, but I got to think of myself as well. And what's best for myself isn't necessarily the best thing for you. So, man, that was so good. I really hate that Ymir and Historia, she said call me Historia, so I will do my best to call her Historia from now on, since Historia has requested it so. I felt really bad because I wanted these two to stay together. I'm glad Ymir didn't die this episode. In the back of my head, there was I had a little death flag for Bertolt and Ymir in this episode, because I was like, well, is Bertolt going to go all out, become the Colossal Titan, and then somehow die? I hadn't even thought of the fact that Bertolt couldn't become the Colossal Titan because he got slashed by Erwin. Erwin did a lot of good things in the last part of this series, in this season so far. But yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. And so I didn't take into account that Bertolt would be injured and he couldn't turn into the Colossal Titan. That's a nice plot convenience, because if he had, then I think the battle would have been over. But that's good on Isayama to have him injured like that, and then he can't transform. It makes total sense. But for a second, I also thought Ymir was gonna die, because we had that big moment between her and Historia in the last episode, and I was like, come on. I was like, we just had that moment. Are you going to kill her off now that because I feel like the show doesn't want us to be happy for too long. So instead, we got the middle ground. Ymir gets to live for now, but her and Historia are separated. And I'm like, the question is, now that they're separated, and they are separated by a lot of distance, because Ymir and them are way over on Wall Maria, and we're way over on Wall Rose. The question is, are they going to meet up again? And what do we do with that? So, yeah, God, this episode, there's so much that happened. And yeah, if I can somehow live all through this. So Ymir is catching on that even if until we get to the whole thing with the coordinates, she's like, even if, her and I make it inside the wall, we're still going to be at the mercy of the Titans when they come, because they are coming. It's going to happen. And I like that Historia has a speech with her about, living for herself. Let's do this. And then, God, we go back to Hannes and that Titan. I at the point where Eren was biting himself, you know why he's doing it, because he's so desperate to become a Titan. And it's just the fingers. It's just the fingers. He was so close. And I think if he hadn't kept biting himself, he would have been able to transform. But at the same time, I'm getting to the part of the episode now where Historia goes after the Titan that was going to attack Ymir, and that music that came in, and the shot of Historia flying through the air like a goddess, and then the imagery of half Ymir's face, half the Titan's face, that was so good. That was handled really, really well. I liked that. But yeah, then we go back to damn Hannes fighting the Titan. and Eren's trying to transform, and Mikasa's trying to tell him to stop. And at first Mikasa thinks that she's going to go after him, but she's hurt. She can't go. And then he's like, untie my hands so that he can, he's like, I've got to be the one to do it. Yeah. Ah, damn it. It's so hard because you know why Eren keeps biting his hand, because he's panicking and he's frustrated and he's like, I've got to save Hannes. I've got to avenge my mom. I've got to settle the score and everything. And, like, you just know that he's panicked, he's trying, and you don't blame him, but you're like, damn it. In the back of your head as the audience member, you're like, maybe if you had waited and let your hand fully heal and focused on, see, that's the thing. Annie focused on healing her hand and healing her eye. Annie focused on healing her eye and putting all of her power towards that. So it's like, I don't think Eren knows that you can focus on healing a certain body part. I don't think Eren is privy to that like Annie was. So the tragedy of this situation is if Eren knew everything that he needed to know about being a Titan, he probably could have focused his energy on healing his hands. And then at that point, he could have transformed and did something. So that's the tragedy, because he didn't have the information that he needed. God, I'm going to talk about Grisha in the recap, but that ties back to this whole thing with Grisha. It's like, where have you been? What are you doing? Why have you not told Eren these things that he needed to know? That I'm going to talk about Grisha in the character tier, because I don't even know. I've got a character tier that I'm going to use in the recap, but I haven't really looked at it. It was just season 2 characters. I just pulled it up and saved it. But I haven't looked to see if Grisha's even on there. But if he's not on there, I'm like, Grisha, I'm still going to talk about him in the recap. But I'm like, dude, you've known certain things about the Titans. If you knew your son could become one, maybe you should have gave him some damn info or... I'm so frustrated with Grisha, more than I am with any other character in the show right now, because I feel like Grisha knows knowledge and he's not telling people. And I'm like, why not at this point? You know, your son nearly died. His mom died. Hannes died. And it's all because you're not sharing information. And don't spoil me. I know we're going to find out. I'm sure next season or season 4. But it's so frustrating because, yeah, if only Eren had been able to heal his hand, it might have gone to... It worked out for everyone else in the end. But for Hannes, I think he could have saved Hannes. And then, damn, this show loves to illustrate and animate Erwin in this episode. Erwin gets a lot of really good shots. And we'll talk about him at the end of the episode. But he gets some really good shots. And I feel like one thing I complained about in season 1 is that we didn't get a lot into Erwin's inner thoughts. We don't get any inner monologues with Erwin. We just get what he tells everyone outside around him. And we'll talk more about Erwin later, but God, they love to animate him. And then, yeah, Reiner is intentionally just throwing Titans at Survey Corps members. But, oh man, Jean getting knocked out and like hitting his head and getting knocked unconscious and bleeding, and Armin jumping off the horse to get to him. I was so worried at this point. I'm like, if Jean dies, I'm gonna be so freaking sad. No. And then, yeah, Hannes is just trying to get around to the back of the neck, but it's just not working. And Eren bleeding and saying what's wrong, and it's like, and just biting chunks out of his hand. I'm like, dude, no, you just let your hands heal. You're not healing all the way, so it's not working. And then, God, this episode got so desperate, and everyone just at their lowest point. Like, Reiner at this point, he threw the last Titan off and started running towards them. And then Erwin, everyone dying around him to save him, and him like just looking at and having to look at all of his comrades being eaten to save him, and how that must feel. God. And then Hannes gets caught by the Titan. And then he gets caught. That's the thing. There's a lot of parallels. There's a lot of surprising parallels to Erwin and Eren in this episode, because Erwin and Eren are kind of like in positions of powerlessness in this episode, where they're characters that are set up to have a lot of power, right? Erwin's the commander of the Survey Corps. He has the entire Survey Corps to his disposal to order around and have them do whatever. Which is funny, because wow, I hadn't considered that, but it's funny. Erwin can coordinate the Survey Corps to go wherever he wants to and do whatever he wants because he's the commander. Eren coordinates all the Titans to do whatever he wants, apparently. So there's that parallel between Erwin and Eren, you know, that I didn't really quite realize. And then in this moment, in this episode, Erwin, he's lost an arm. He can't function to the fullest of his capability and use his ODM gear. He is just, you know, he's stuck. And everyone's dying around him to protect him. And the same thing happens with Eren. Eren can't become a Titan because he's not fully healed. And everyone is dying around him to protect him. And it's like, that parallel is so fascinating with these two characters. And then, oh God, he's just fighting himself to try to turn into a Titan and it's not doing it. And then, yeah, Hannes getting bitten in half. And the blood going on the flowers. And then Hannes just dying. Nope. And like I said, it was the last tether to the old world, to the season 1 world. Hannes was the thread connecting them all back. And the good thing is that Hannes didn't die in vain. He didn't die in vain because Eren was able to use, thanks to Mikasa and Hannes. I want to talk about Mikasa too, but he was able to get all 3 of them together and to get Eren back with Armin and Mikasa. He was able to do that. So Hannes didn't die in vain. He did he's like, I want to get you 3 kids back together and back inside the walls. Otherwise things can't go back to normal. So on the one hand, Hannes didn't die in vain. He got Eren, he saved Eren, and he enabled Eren to learn about himself and his powers, and he also enabled them to get Eren back. So Hannes didn't die in vain. The problem is, I don't think things are going to go back to the way that they were. There's no way. There's been too much revealed this season. Nah, it's all open. The cat's out of the bag. The baby, throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's, you know, it's all opened up now. But that imagery, the blood all over the Titan's chest, and oh my God. Oh my God. Oh. And then Eren. And then, yeah, kudos to Eren's voice actor. Oh my God. I'm watching Ace of the Diamond at the same time, and May, the character May, is voiced by the same voice actor as Eren, and then Shoto Todoroki from My Hero Academia is voiced by the same voice actor. Eren's voice actor, holy shit. Amazing in this episode. And this point where the sun is setting, it's about to be nightfall, and he's laughing and crying. And Mikasa's like, shit. And that, he's like, nothing changed. You haven't changed one bit. And he's talking about himself. You're still as useless as you ever were. And that's so hard. That's so hard because I'm like, Eren, you're not useless. You're not useless. You just... But it's going back to episode 2 of season 1, and Hannes telling him, like, I couldn't save your mom because I wasn't strong enough. You couldn't save your mom because you weren't strong enough. And it parallels back to this moment where Eren, he's like, nothing's changed. I'm still not strong enough to save her. And I wasn't strong enough to save him. That's hard. That's hard because you can't argue with him, but you know that he's grown so much and changed so much as a character that you're like, no, Eren, don't beat yourself up so badly. But him like laugh crying and being like, you're still weak. It's like, no, you're not. Oh, that voice acting, that's so hard. God. And Mikasa, and then him just like lamenting his mom. I still can't do anything at all. And I like that Mikasa, it's a little self-serving on Mikasa's end towards the end, but she's like, no. And I thought for a second she was gonna like fist bump him, like in the chest. She's like, that's not true. And he's like, ugh. And the look on her face, she's so sincere. And Eren's like, wait, what? And I think he realizes in that moment, he looks around and he sees like everything that's going on, like the Titans eating people and that everybody's dying. You could see in the background there, you could see in the background, Jean and Armin like fighting for their lives, like 20 feet away. Like I didn't realize they were that close, but, like, and Armin's looking over at them. He's looking over at them. Like, and he knows Hannes died too. Oh, damn it. he knows too, but he's trying to save Jean. And Eren can see them all and him crying. And Mikasa's like, in that moment, as soon as she said she needed to tell him something, I was like, she thinks they're all about to die and she's going to tell him that she loves him. And that's the last words, so she can tell him right before they die. Because she looks really close. And it's so soft, that look on his face and look with her. And she's like, you've always been at my side. She tried to kiss him. She tried to go in for the kiss. Girl was like, I'm not going to die without telling you I love you and I'm going to kiss you. And then Eren was like, nah. Eren's like, sorry, got things to do. Mikasa's poor, unrequited love. Eren does love her. I do think that he does. And we'll talk about that in a second. But that look, I love that look. It's so soft. And she's just thanking him. And then we have Erwin, like, down with his last sword. You have Historia with Sasha and Connie and Ymir battling. She's like, you showed me how to live with purpose. Thank you. And them all crying. And that Titan moving behind him. And she's like, and you gave me this scarf. And she points out the scarf finally. She says, you wrapped this scarf around me. Thank you. And then the sunlight shining. The sunlight coming out. Like, just as it's about to be sunset. And the world brightening up. Like, oh man, the symbolism of that. And then I love the focus on his eyes. And then her eyes. And she's crying. And she looks so pretty in that moment. And she went to kiss him. She went to do it. Girl was going for it. And then he stood up. And it shouldn't have been funny, but I was like, oh, girl, you tried. You tried so hard. That was you had one chance. That was it. And then she's like, oh. And she's like, oh, well, what? And then I love that. This is the point where I really loved Eren's character, was him standing up, and that look. He looks so mature and so much older in that moment when he looks back at her and he's like, I'll wrap that scarf around you as many times as you want. I love that. I love that. That's the ultimate shonen protagonist line. He's like, we ain't kissing yet, but I'll save you as many times as you. And it goes back to Carla and her telling him to protect Mikasa and him standing up. And I just love that shot of him looking back at her being like, I'll wrap it around as many times as you want. Like Eren does care about Mikasa. He's just kind of oblivious that she romantically likes him, but he does care for her a lot. Now and forever, as much as you want. And then the Titan's going for him. And then, yeah, and them rainbow veins getting that hand healed. And then I love that he's like standing in front of her and he punches the Titan and he lets out the scream. And here's the thing, that big bolt of lightning, it goes through Bertolt, Reiner, and Ymir. Like it's like a communication, right? But here's the thing, Bertolt, Reiner, and Ymir do not follow his orders. They don't follow Eren's orders. It's just the Putty Titans. So is the idea of the coordination. Because at that moment I was like, wait, a coordinate is two things. It's a place on a map. It's a noun. It can be a noun or a verb. It can be a noun where it is a place on a map or a specific location. Or it can be used as a verb. When you coordinate something, you bring something together and you organize it. And in this case, it's the verb. It's the verb. I kept thinking when they said the coordinate, I was like, oh, so he's a place. He's an important piece of the puzzle. But him punching the Titan and the whole thing of scream. That scream. It got all the Titans to come towards. I love that stance. So that may be the thumbnail of Eren. Eren has never looked more badass than when he's in that stance. Like his the musculature and the way his body's drawn. It just looks like a hero. He looks like the hero of the story right then and there. And the Titans all coming up from behind him to attack. And he does the punch thing like he's sending them towards him. And I don't know if he even realizes it. I think it might have been instinctual when he does the punch thing, like, go get him. And the Titan did it. And the other Titans are like, oh, and that's what he wants. So, oh God, John. But yeah, they all go at that Titan and just eat it alive. Oh my God. And it's pretty graphic. And Erwin's like, excuse me? And then Ymir and then we're like, what? Oh man. And then friggin' Eren carrying Mikasa on his back after all that. Like I told y'all, I've given Eren a really hard time during this entire series, but in this episode, I really loved Eren. I was like, dude pulling his weight for sure. And she's like, why are they doing that? And he's like, oh, why are they eating it? Oh, and this is so graphic. Ugh. But yeah, and Connie's like, don't know what's going on, but we gotta get out of here now. And then Ymir is like, so that's how it is. Like that's why Reiner was so desperate for Eren. Uh-huh. Which means that even inside the walls, Historia has a future. Yep. And then right at that moment, so I like that there's this communication link between Eren and the other Titan shifters, even though Eren doesn't realize it. So that's interesting. So Eren can't control the Titan shifters because I guess they have that. I'm guessing that the Titan shifters have their own agency and independence but the Putty Titans, they're all an autonomous group, right? So it kind of makes sense, like when Annie screams, go back to Scream, when Annie screamed back in season 1 in episode 20, she called all the Titans to her to eat her and get her out of that situation. So the Titans all came as a group. There wasn't really anybody that strayed away. They all came together. So Eren's kind of doing that too. He's coordinating them all together. Interesting. But the Titan shifters don't seem to be part of that. And then, yeah, this is the worst. I love this part of the episode. Reiner being like, why did the coordinate have to fall into the hands of the worst person imaginable? So that's establishing a couple things. So the idea that the coordinate and that these other abilities, they're all transferable, right? So that brings up an interesting question. So it could be, we talked about the power of the Titan getting transferred, right? So the power of the Titan getting transferred. So Ymir ate Marcel and gained the power of a Titan shifter. We don't know at this point what Marcel looked like as a Titan. Someone pointed this out, that it's kind of crazy that Marcel was a Titan shifter too, because could you imagine if there had been 4 of them attacking Shiganshina? It clearly was a unit. We can establish at this point that there was a unit sent to destroy Shiganshina and the other walls. It wasn't just like one person. It was like a special ops squad of these kids sent to go stop Shiganshina, and Marcel was part of it. So we don't know what Marcel's ability was, and if that transferred. We don't know what Marcel's ability as a Titan shifter was, and we don't know if that transferred to Ymir or not. We just know that Ymir was able to become a Titan shifter. But it's the words Reiner is saying here sounds like that the ability of the Armored Titan, the ability of the Colossal Titan, and the ability of the Coordinate are transferable powers. Like someone else can inherit them. So I'm guessing if someone, like if they pass it down to a child, their child maybe, or if it's given to them through eating a Titan shifter that had that power. So my question is, Grisha knows a lot about this and is oddly not present. So did Grisha find the previous coordinate, capture the previous coordinate, and make Eren eat them? And Eren just didn't realize it? And that's how he got that power? How does that work? I'm still curious about that. And don't spoil me, I know we'll find out. But I'm curious to know how it got to be that Eren was chosen to be the coordinate. Was it just random fate? Was it just fate that happened? Was it that? Did he inherit it by eating a Titan shifter that had the coordinate powers and he gained it himself? When did that happen if that's the case? Under what circumstances did that happen if that was the case? Did Grisha suppress his memory again while he did it so he didn't have to think about it? Lots of questions. But the idea that the coordinate is a power that can go to anybody, and it just happened to go to Eren, and Eren being the worst person imaginable to have this ability, and Reiner's so pissed, he's like, we've got to get it back. I can say without a doubt, the one person in the world I wouldn't want to have it, Eren, is you. So it sounds like that they just want to capture Eren to have someone eat him and gain the coordinate powers instead. Like they want someone else to get the coordinate powers other than Eren. So that's what it sounds like. So it sounds like if Titan powers are transferable, then they just want someone else to eat Eren and get the power. Right? But interesting. So yeah, Eren's the worst person imaginable you'd want with this power, because guess what? Eren wants to kill you all. So you couldn't, it's like if Ymir had the coordinate powers, they're thinking, oh, well, we could have convinced Ymir to come to our side, because Ymir is easily swayable, right? As long as you have Historia in the mix, Ymir's going to pretty much do whatever you want, as long as Historia is safe in that equation. But in Eren's case, Eren has vocally said numerous times that he not only wants to kill Titans, but he wants to kill Reiner and Bertolt. So they're thinking, you're the last person we want to have this ability, because you can very well order these Titans to try to kill us. That's not what we want. So this just got so much more fascinating. And then Eren stops, and it's like instinct. It's like his instinct. He's like, get away from me, you bastards. I'll kill you all. And then, the Titans that were eating on the Titan that killed Carla, they immediately run after Reiner and Bertolt. And they're like, well, shit. Yeah, Eren's ordering them to stay away. And then Reiner's like, crap, I can't protect Bertolt, because I guess he can't fight off the Titans and protect Bertolt. And then, thank God, Armin shows up with an extra horse. And he's crying. Oh, Armin. You can tell he's crying because Hannes has died, and because John's injured, and because he thought Eren and Mikasa were going to die. And then Erwin's like, do not let this chance escape us. Get out of here. And so it's like part 2 of them all running away in the montage. And then there's Bertolt like climbing up as much as he can. And all of them getting away. And oh man, Bertolt's been so expressive in this season, but his face is, he's like swinging around the sword. And then Ymir's like, hey, ugly, what are you doing? We're heading back. And I like that line by Connie. Like Connie suggesting that Ymir could go back with them. I like that. Like him saying, hey, ugly. So that suggests that Connie was okay with Ymir coming back with them. Now, whether or not, she did lunge at Erwin, so there's a good chance if she had gone back, Erwin would have been like, you tried to kill me. And she'd been like, well. But I liked the fact that Connie was willing to accept her to come back. That gives me hope that if we see Ymir again in season 3, which I'm hoping we do, and I hope that Ymir and Historia meet up again and reunite, that gives me hope that we'll see more with Ymir interacting with Connie and Historia and Sasha, at least, because it seemed like those 3 were accepting of her coming back. But then I love, she like touches Historia's face and she's like, you got to go back with them. She's like, and I thought for a second she was going to grab Historia and take her off with her, but instead she just pats her little head. And that shot in the sunset of her like holding her, and she's like, I'm sorry. And she's just leaving her behind, and Historia's like, wait, what? No. And it's like, it's the tragic, the star-crossed lovers are being separated. But Ymir saves Bertolt. And, oh man. And Bertolt and Reiner were surprised she came back. But she saved him. She saved Bertolt. Huh. Funny that. I was feeling a little bad for Bertolt there in a second, because like I said, I thought for a second Bertolt was going to die this episode, especially once we found out he couldn't turn into a Titan. I'm like, are they going to kill Bertolt? Because technically, if you had a Titan you wanted to get out of the way that was really, really powerful, that would be your biggest threat, it's Bertolt. Bertolt's kind of the crux of that formation now, because Reiner, for all the power Reiner seems to have, he has a lot of pitfalls. He's slower with the armor on. He can't move fast. He could throw those Titans off, but he's not infallible, right? Bertolt, on the other hand, I think Bertolt, because he's so big in Titan form, it would take a lot of Titans to take him down once he transformed. I think it would take a lot to take him down. So Bertolt is clearly the outlier, the one that you want to get rid of, because he's 60 meters tall, not 50, as Christopher, you pointed out. But yeah, and as the sun's setting, they all get out of there. It sucks because when you think about it, if they had been an hour later, they could have avoided a lot of the Titans. But then if they'd been an hour later, Eren could have been gone. It's just the timing of everything worked to their advantage and disadvantage. It's crazy to think about. And then, okay, so Armin has that monologue, that narration. In that moment, I couldn't understand the motivation behind Ymir's actions. Armin's been our narrator the entire series so far. So we'll talk about this in the recap, but that makes me think that Armin is like our Frodo. He is our secretary. He is our laureate. He's our guy that's taking down all of the words. So it's curious. He's speaking in the past tense. So I'm curious to know, what I'm curious about with Armin's narration is, when are we going to get back to the present? Is Armin going to live to the very end of the series? Is Armin going to be one of our survivors until the very end? And then we'll have the whole story from his perspective? It would kind of make sense because Armin's grandpa gave him that book and everything, and Armin seems to like recording data and things like that. It would make sense if Armin did like a Bilbo Baggins and recorded all their adventures at the end, and he's like the only one left. I don't want that to happen. But I just get that sense that Armin may be safe and may make it to endgame. Unless we get to like season 3, and by the end of season 3, we're all caught up to the present. That could be it. Or we get to season 4 and we're caught up to the present. That could be it. So I'm curious. It would be interesting if like Armin's been recording all this information, and then at the end of season 3 or at the beginning of season 4, we find out that now we're caught up to the present and he's like sending it all in a letter or something to someone. I don't know, but it would be interesting. Poor Jean. At least he's conscious. I feel so bad for him. But yeah, the armored titan didn't pursue us any further. And then Erwin looks like he's about to pass out. Jean looks like he's about to pass out. Mikasa is crying. And then Eren is always looking forward. And Eren looking forward with his head up high into the air, but his eyes are so distraught. And he's just thinking about Carla and Hannes. Mainly about Hannes and him dying. And that moment of him being drunk and holding him back from episode 1. Things were so simple back then, right? It was a simpler time. Oh my gosh. So I'm going back and rewatching the episode on Crunchyroll because I have noticed that the title cards, Funimation translated them this series, but they didn't translate them a lot. They just gave a brief overview. Crunchyroll gives you like the whole damn thing. So it says, information available for public disclosure, the unyielding vow. Through extensive research and accounts of various incidents, it has become clear that the scourge of titans, which have long plagued humanity, are of human origin. Ah, okay. So this is the public disclosure that they're putting out after what's going to happen at the end of the episode. The colossal titan which destroyed the wall at Shiganshina district is a human possessing the ability to transform into a titan, demonstrated by its intent to breach the wall with the purpose to exterminate humans. Titans are not sent by the heavens to punish us for our sins, but invaders that must be driven back. Thus we swear by the blood our brothers and comrades have spilled, waging war against this foe, we shall not relent our lands nor yield the fight. So that's interesting, that whole public disclosure, because it's basically denouncing the church's view, saying the titans, it's denouncing the people that have said, oh, the titans are sent by the heavens to punish us for our sins. No, they're people. They're people that can turn into titans that are trying to destroy us for some reason. So that's interesting. Still though, despite that disclosure, it's like the ability to turn into a titan seems kind of divine, right? It seems like it's got some divinity to it. So even though they say that they're not sent by the heavens, it's like, but where's that power bestowed from? That's my question, right? So I'm sure we'll get into that next season, but you know, I feel like we got an end credit scene at the end of this despite not having one. So we went back to Wall Maria and all the houses being destroyed and the gate being kicked in. And then there's our main guys, Bertolt, Reiner, and Ymir. Why did you come to us? And I like that Ymir establishes, she's like, I'm an idiot. That's why. She's like, why did I do that? But I'll be a souvenir to take back home. She's like, you couldn't go empty-handed. I feel like Ymir is hoping that she finds out information through the Titans that will help her to be able to best serve Historia. she's like, actually, thanks to you, I would have never woken up from that nightmare. So I'm just returning what I borrowed. Because I'm sure at this point, here's the thing. There's a part of me that's like, Ymir went back to try to get as much info as she could to maybe be able to help Astoria. But at the same time, I think Ymir believes she's going to die, that they're going to kill her. And she's kind of resigned herself to that. But I'm like, she wants to see Historia again. So it's like, but maybe not, since she thinks that Historia has a future. And then she says, because I'm probably the only one that understands the situation you're in. True, with the exception of maybe Eren, who's not going to listen to Reiner and Bertolt at this point, Ymir is the only one who really understands what Reiner and Bertolt are going through. It goes back to what Reiner said in episode 10, who better to understand us than one of our own? And Ymir is one of their own. So I appreciate that sentiment. And Reiner seems to understand what she's talking about. And then Bertolt about to cry, saying thank you. And saying he's sorry. Because Bertolt's like, he's like, you basically are giving up your life to help us. We're not worthy of it. And him crying over her. And her crying. And then her saying no. And reaching up to the moon like it's the heavens. Like it's the Aurora Borealis. It wasn't so bad, being a goddess for a while. And that's so double meaning. Because on the one hand, you can take it as when she was revered as a goddess back before she became a Titan, that she liked that time of her life because she was, given all these things and spoiled. But then you could also see that when she had the power of the Titan, she kind of was like a goddess. She could transform and go and be powerful and do whatever she wanted. So I'm like, if they kill her right off the bat, I'm going to be really pissed off. I'm like, I don't think they're going to kill her because they're going to use her to get Historia. Because Historia, they figured out that that Historia loves her. And they're like, if we're going to try to get Historia back, we need to lure her back. And you're the person to do it. So I hope they don't kill Ymir right off the bat. I hope they try to use her to get Historia back. And then her and Historia can run off together. Like, that gave me death flags for Ymir. And I don't know what to think about it. So then we get back to what's been going on over the last day. Because I've got a big timeline I'm going to be doing, but it's like, what's been happening the last day? Well, there's been reports declaring the possibility that Rosewall had been breached. So this ties back to No Regrets. And it's really cool. We get to see in the catacombs just how big the underground city under Walsina is. We get to see how big it is. It's huge. It's huge. And so that's so interesting that at the time they put all the Walrose refugees in the city like where Levi grew up. But they had all their emergency food rations down there. And if this is the crazy thing, with more than half the population surviving off stockpiled emergency food, half the population, the ration would only last at most for a week. So this is just how crazy it is. If the Survey Corps hadn't have gone out on the mission to check out Walrose, and they had just assumed that it had been breached and just held up there, then we would have had a repeat of Wall Maria where they would have had to send people out because there would have been no food. So it's good that the Survey Corps went on this mission to, one, prove the wall hadn't been breached so that everybody could go back home, but two, to keep Titans from being propagated, because I'm convinced these humans that were sent out to Wall Maria got turned into Titans somehow. So it kept that cycle from perpetuating. So the Survey Corps did their job this season for sure. It's crazy to think that this whole season was in the span of like 72 hours or 48 hours. So yeah, it's just survival within 1 week from the initial outset. Authorities declared that Walrose was secure. So yeah, so they just double checked the wall and we're like, we're good to go. Send everybody back home so that we can have food. Damn. And so then we go back to Trost. Man, I didn't figure Trost would be like a central point, but I guess Pixis is from Trost, so that makes sense in the Southern District. And I'm guessing maybe Erwin is from Trost, because why else would he stay there? Unless it's right, it's the closest way to get out to go towards Mall Marina. May I say, not to be simping for Erwin, but Erwin can pull Erwin can pull off facial hair. I'm not usually somebody that likes facial hair on guys, but Erwin can pull it off. Good to know. But yeah, oh man. And then I like that Levi instantly knows it's Hanji and to let them in. And then so here we go. This scene is very, very interesting. Very interesting. So Levi is still in civilian clothes, which has only been 48 hours. I'm a little worried that our two main characters that have the best fighting skills, Mikasa and Levi, are injured. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Nope. Don't like it. So Levi is still healing. And then Pixis with his bolo and his vest in his civilian clothes. Good on ya. And then Erwin, of course. And so they're glad that Pixis is there too to hear all of this. Poor Connie. Connie just looks like he's seen 1,000 ghosts. I feel so bad for Connie in this episode, especially right here, because him acknowledging that, here's the thing. We can assume that maybe his mom is still alive in Titan form because they just left her. But they let people move back to they let people back in Wall Rose. They let people back in there. So I'm assuming maybe they kidnapped Connie. Maybe they not kidnapped, but they took Connie's mom and took it back to monitor her since she can't really move anywhere. But how would they have moved her? She's so heavy. So did they kill her? I want to find out for sure if they killed her or not. I mean, part of me is like, yeah, they would have killed her because she's a liability and she is dangerous. But part of me is like, maybe they would try to transport her, but how would you transport her? She's so huge. So, but someone pointed out, who was it? Who pointed it out? Someone, let me see here. I'm trying to find the part where y'all pointed out. Was it Hardy? Nathan Hardy? Yeah, Nathan Hardy. You pointed out on Patreon that back in episode 2, I didn't even think about this, but back in episode 2, the Titan that Sasha was fighting was Connie's dad. If you look at the picture that Mobilet has and that Connie has of his parents, and then you go back to episode 2 of this season and you rewatch it, the Titan, the big Titan that Sasha stabbed in the eye with the arrow, that's Connie's dad. Which on the one hand, you could say, okay, well, Connie's dad's still alive because she didn't kill him. But then if he went to Castle Utgard after that, then he probably died. So that's the thing. So Connie is dealing with the fact that not only were his parents transformed into Titans against their will, but that they're all probably dead, along with the rest of his village. So we're going to talk about that because, yeah, Hanji is really, really calm in this scene. And you know that Hanji's being calm for Connie's sake. And there's a little bit of Hanji trying not to confirm things because Connie's around and they don't want to like just say it out loud because Levi brings up the point we've all been thinking since finding out that these humans are turning into Titans. Levi's bringing up the point that we're all thinking of, and before we get to that, we cut back to all of our main cast in their civilian clothes, our trio, Armin, Mikasa, and Jean, and Eren. And you feel for Eren. He's like, because I was taken away, the scouts lost more than half of their veteran soldiers. So this season, the Survey Corps took a huge blow. Like Erwin lost his arm, Levi has been injured, and half the veteran soldiers are gone, which is really bad. So they took a huge loss. And it's like, and it wasn't anything Eren could do. Eren tried to fight. And I think if he hadn't been tag teamed by both Bertolt and Reiner, if it had just been back in episode 7, if it had just been Eren versus Reiner, I think Eren would have won. But they ganged up on him. And he couldn't help that. And so Eren's lamenting that. And he's like, just to rescue me. But there's a reason they rescued you. And I like Armin's like, there's no way. There were no casualties on our way back, though, because of what you did. He's like, the Titans completely ignored us and ran off to chase Reiner and the others. He's like, and so I like that Armin says, Jean and I sat down to try to figure it out. So I love Jean and Armin big braining together. Like they were my favorite duo back last season. Jean and Armin working together and exploring all these different scenarios and philosophies and things. And so it's the same here. They sat down again And then Armin getting close to him. We have an idea what made the Titans act that way. It was you. I love that. I love that close-up of Armin leaning into him. Of course, it's just a theory, says Jean. But there's just no other way of explaining it. And I love how stoic Jean is in this moment. And he's like, it's a tough spot to be in. Yeah. He's like, whether or not all these people died for nothing depends on you. Jean has been the crux. Jean has been since season 1, the person to bring Eren back, to remind him of how important Eren is. Because I think Eren sometimes gets lost in thinking that he's helpless and thinking that he's weak, and he's not. And so I think Jean has been the person to come back to him whenever. It's funny because Jean criticizes him. Jean doesn't like Eren. He criticizes him a lot. But at the end of the day, he always seems to be the one that, when he talks to Eren, he's the one trying to bring Eren back to reality and ground him, which I really like. He did that back in the last season, even though it was apparently anime only. But he does it here too. He's like, yeah, those people died trying to rescue you, but you're going to be the determination of whether they died in vain or not, because you have this ability. Okay? He's like, if you're worth the price they paid, you better show it. And I like, he's calling Eren to action. He's like, you better pull in your weight. And he said the same thing back in season 1. He's like, we don't have time to waste. And then, yeah, Eren looking at his hand and saying, yeah, you're absolutely right. And then I love that resolve. I got to do this. I'll control the Titans. And I'll plug up Wall Maria. And I'll capture Reiner and make him pay. Oh, it's what I got to do to atone for all those lives lost. And Mikasa looking too. So yeah, so we have our resolve. Our main character has his resolve. He's got his mission. He's figured out he can control the Titans, so they're going to use them. Now, whether or not Erwin and Levi have become privy to all this, that remains to be seen. I'm assuming they're going to find out next season. But yeah, so Eren has his resolve. He can control Titans. He can make them plug up Wall Maria. He can make them do things. They can go back to the damn basement. And he can figure out, and he says he's going to make Reiner pay. So again, we're setting up Eren versus Reiner, and I kind of love it because it's funny. I started out season 1 thinking it was going to be Levi versus Eren, then Jean versus Eren, and now I'm like, nah, it's Reiner versus Eren. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So then, yeah, the Titans responsible for this incident were the citizens of Rogako and Connie. Oh, honey. In other words, the true identity of the Titans, all of the Titans are humans, not just the shifters, everybody. Everybody. And then, I'm sorry, but Levi's face when that realization hits him, his eyes just widen slowly. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing. And then Hanji's like, well, we don't have proof. And I don't know, Hanji is a scientist, so Hanji's like, well, we can't just theorize. We need actual concrete proof. So that leads me to believe that maybe they're going to try to get Connie's mom transported back for Hanji to look at. That gives me hope that there may be, because if anything, Connie's mother is the perfect Titan for Hanji to work with, because it can't really attack anybody. It can't really move. But I also think Hanji's saying that somewhat for Connie's benefit, because Connie looks like he's about to pass out. And then Levi, so you're telling me I've spent all this time and energy running around killing people. That's the hard thing, is that Levi's like, the horror of it all is starting to hit Levi, that we've not been fighting monsters. We've been killing people. We've been killing humans this whole time, and we just didn't realize it. And we thought they were just monsters, and they weren't. So that hitting Levi is, oh man, the way they animate him, the way they draw him, oh, it's like Levi is not very expressive, but as we've seen from No Regrets, he clearly has those emotions inside, and you can just see like just disgust and pain washing over him. Is that right? And Hanji doesn't want to say yes, says we don't have proof yet. But Connie's looking back at the picture. and about to cry. And Levi's looking at him through the window. So you can tell that Levi, who has a lot of compassion for people and instantly connects, like Levi looking at Connie, knowing how hard this is for him, is just, And yeah, looking back at Connie going with Hanji and then saying Erwin. And then here's the thing. Levi's about to talk to Erwin. Erwin having that smile on his face. I got really scared for a second. I'm like, Erwin, why are you smiling, buddy? This is not the time for that. And Levi is like, and then he gets sent back, and Levi, he's like, what the hell are you smiling for? Like, why are you smiling? And here's the thing. And Erwin, it's nothing. Here's what I think. I think Erwin was smiling because he saw that it's possible to beat the Titans in this moment if they're just humans, right? Because in Erwin's mind, Erwin's whole thing is he's wanted to win for the sake of humanity, but he knows just as well as anybody that humanity can be cruel and humanity can be just as nasty as the Titans themselves. So he's probably thinking to himself, it makes perfect sense that these Titans are humans. It makes perfect sense that they are, because we've seen how nasty humanity can be. So the fact that these are humans that become Titans, it just proves his point, right? So it also establishes, I think, to Erwin that this goal is attainable. It's possible. They can beat these Titans because they're just humans on the inside. That's the thing. Erwin knows how vulnerable and weak humanity can be. He's said that before throughout season 1. He knows how frail humanity can be. And so back when they were fighting the Titans in season 1, and they were thought to be these otherworldly divine creatures that were omnipotent, he was probably like, it probably felt like they were fighting a losing battle, and that no matter how hard they tried, they weren't going to win, right? Because these are beings of the divine, they're otherworldly, there's no way we can stop them. But if it turns out Erwin's thinking that these are just humans, that it's just been humans all along, well, wars against humans have been won. Like, you can beat the Titans if they're just humans. So in that moment, I think that smile that Erwin has is him realizing that it is possible to win this war, that there's a possibility of winning. They're one step closer to the truth, and he feels like there's a chance now. Erwin is seeing the disturbing implication that these are all humans, but Erwin's seeing it as a matter of, we're not fighting an infallible being anymore. It's just humanity, just a sect of humanity that's against us. We can beat that. That's what I think he's thinking. Now, whether or not that's true, whether or not that's right, I think that's just Erwin's mindset in that moment. And Levi's like, because I think Levi is looking at this more as a moral thing, like, oh, we've been killing humans, but we've been protecting humans. Like, isn't this a problem that we're killing humanity even though we're trying to protect humanity? Levi's thinking of the moral implications of this war, and it's just humans fighting humans. Erwin is just seeing it as, we can win now. Erwin is like Eren. He's laser focused. Erwin is like Eren. He has a goal, and he'll do anything to meet it. And that goal has been to beat the Titans. And now that he knows the Titans are just humans, he's like, oh, well, this will make it better, easier. And Levi's like, there's a moral implication that we need to look at. And in that moment, he's like, shit. He's like, it's just, with this, we've taken one more step towards the truth. Mm-hmm. And Levi's like, yeah, just one step, huh? He's like, yeah, we've taken one step and we'll run out of people before we learn the truth. That's Levi's concern too. He's like, we lost so many people just to gain this one nugget of information. If we keep pursuing the truth like this, we ain't gonna have anybody left before we figure it all out. So I see it from both Erwin and Levi's perspective. I'm so fascinated the relationship between Levi and Erwin, because I feel like in season 1, up until No Regrets, I felt like Levi and Erwin were this like totally in sync duo, that they challenged each other, but they were totally in sync morally and ethically. And then No Regrets came along and you were like, okay, well, this complicates things a bit. And then this episode, Levi still respects Erwin. and Erwin still respects Levi, and they're still challenging each other, which I find fascinating. But I also feel like there's a little bit of a distinct dissonance between their ethics and moralities at this. It's like a juncture at this point. Levi is really realizing the implications of this truth, and it's kind of disturbing him. Erwin's realizing the implications of this truth, and he's thinking it's a means to an end. Like it's a justification. So, it's making their relationship a lot more complicated, and I really like that. It's not worth the cost. That's the line. So that's the juncture. Levi's wondering, is it worth the cost of losing everybody to find out this truth? And Erwin thinks it is. Erwin thinks it's a step towards the truth. He's like, we got to pursue it. One day we'll break it down. And last season, Erwin with the foreshadowing metaphors and symbolism, Erwin was like, we're going to face these titans. It's going to be an attack on Titan. Roll credit. And then here, when he said we'll break it down, I was like, it sounded almost like Bertolt and Reiner saying we'll break down the wall. Saying the wall hiding the truth. But it's funny. It's so funny in that moment, the wall will fall. And I want to talk about this in the recap, but the idea that back in IDK, you noted in the comments on YouTube, back in episode 15 of season 1, when Erwin asked Eren, who is the enemy? That got brought back again in episode 9, who is the enemy? And Ymir answered that question for us. Who knows? Who knows who the enemy is? And that in that moment, that parallel between Erwin saying, we'll break down the wall to get to the truth. It's a metaphorical phrase, right? But him saying, we'll do whatever it takes to break down the wall to get to the truth is paralleling Reiner and Bertolt saying, we'll break down the wall to get both of them, both Erwin and both Reiner and Bertolt are saying the exact same thing. We are going to do whatever it takes to win, to get our mission accomplished. And Eren and Erwin are in that boat, and Eren and Erwin are in that boat, and Reiner and Bertolt are in that boat. They're both saying we'll do whatever it takes to win and accomplish the mission. And the question is, who is the enemy? Depends on what side you're on, right? Depends on what side you're on. And I know that a lot of you are going to say, well, clearly the enemy is Reiner and Bertolt because they killed 250,000 people and they did all these horrible things. And I agree with you. I still want to know why Reiner and Bertolt have this mission to begin with. What's the point? Why try to kill humanity? They're in a wall. They're walled off from the rest of society, from the rest of the world. Why does it matter to fight them? Because it doesn't seem like they're trying to go out and take back Titandom's land, right? The whole thing is they've been locked up for 100 years within this wall. Why does it matter? Why, if the Titans live outside the wall in this freedom, why does it matter that they attack humanity that's sheltered off from the rest of the world? Why does it matter to attack them? I don't understand. So don't spoil me, but that's my big question is, this is an isolated kingdom that has self-isolated itself for 100 years. Why do you care about it? What's so special about it? It seems like they're having a pretty shitty time. Why do you care? So why would you want to take it over? So I know we're going to get to that in season 3, but it's very curious. And then this felt like a post-credit shot when we just go to the very end and we go through Wall Rose and we get Armin and Mikasa together. I find it curious that Armin and Mikasa are together and then Eren's by himself. We'll talk about this. And then we get back to the Beast Titan. The Beast Titan! So, okay! The Beast Titan on top of Wall Maria with the sunlight. And the Beast Titan's hunched over. It's hunched over and smiling, but it looks like the person on top of it is the person getting out of it. So there is a person inside the Beast Titan. There is a human inside of it. Okay. And it's this blonde guy with glasses and a beard and looks like dude is ripped. Dude is ripped. Dude is ripped. And like has like the pants and stuff on. But with the glasses saying, not yet, eh? Not yet, eh? So I don't know if that's referring to It's not time yet to get Eren. It's not time yet to attack the wall. It's not time yet to do something interesting. And then I find it fascinating that the guy inside the Beast Titan has blonde hair, and then we cut immediately to the ED, and the monster that I'm assuming is a Titan, the monster, has blonde hair too. Is this dude the original Titan? Is the Beast Titan the original Titan? I don't know. But oh my God, I've talked for an hour and a half. It's fine. It's cool. It's great. But yeah, oh my God. I'm floored. Absolutely floored. This was such a good season finale. What I was afraid of was feeling an immense sense of dread at the end of this. I felt like this episode was either going to be hopeful or it was going to completely gut me and make me feel like the saddest thing on earth. And luckily it was kind of right in the middle. I felt really bad for Eren in this episode, and I felt proud of Eren when he finally got his success. And here's the thing, Eren's first successful mission wasn't being a Survey Corps member. It wasn't being a Titan. It was being the Coordinate, which I guess is a Titan ability, but he wasn't physically a Titan. Interesting. So that opens up a lot of possibilities. Like, are there other Titan shifters that don't have to turn into a Titan to use an ability? Like Eren, or is Eren the only one? Is the Coordinate a special kind of Titan shifter? Lots to think about. Lots to think about for the recap and review. Like I said, I'm probably going to record that later today because I have a feeling it's going to be long. I started out with season 1. With season 1's recap and review, I had 5 pages of notes to go through. Before this episode, I started planning, and I had 8 pages of notes for half the episodes. So it's fine. It's going to be great. I was given some character songs, like 6 character songs, and I was told not to listen to them until after season 2 because there were some images in the songs that were going to correlate with the season finale. So I'm probably going to react to those songs. I've been told that they're not spoilery for seasons 3 and 4, just for season 2. So I'm going to listen to those character songs and react to them as part of the recap. So yay. I'm so excited though. I'm so excited. I can't wait, y'all. This is going to be a lot of fun. But so the recap and review is going to come up next. And then on Saturday, I'm going to save the OVAs. If you probably saw my community post or my post on Patreon, I'm going to save the OVAs because I was told that there is a season 3 spoilery thing in the Annie OVAs. And some people were like, oh, well, you may not notice it. And other people were like, you're going to notice it. And I was like, ah. So just to be safe, I'm going to wait and do the Lost Girls OVAs all together. So we'll probably have like a mid-season, either mid-season 3 or end of season 3 week. We might do just an season 3 end of that Titan week to be between season 3 and season 4 and do all the OVAs then. We shall see. But, or I might just do all the OVAs in between episodes 12 and 13 of season 3. I'll have to think about that. I might ask y'all on Patreon and Discord what would be the best option for that. But I'm going to wait on the OVAs for now. So, this upcoming Friday is going to be even though I'm recording it today, the upcoming recap and review is going to be Friday in the afternoon. You get to have a Friday night and grab a glass of wine, enjoy me going crazy. And then Saturday is going to be episode 1 of season 3. I'm so excited. I can't believe I'm finally at season 3. Please don't spoil me. And I'll talk about that in the recap and review. And because I know season 3 is a crazy season, supposedly. Please don't spoil me. But this season has been absolutely amazing. This exceeded my expectations so much, and I'll talk about it in the recap, but I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. R.I.P. Hannes. He devoted his heart to the very end. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back soon with the recap, review, and R.I.P. for season 2 of Attack on Titan. Bye.